Okay, my name is Prudence.
I want to need you to sing along with me. So you're going to say, hey, 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 ah, hey, ah, hey, 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 ah. And then you say, for the last time you say, hey, hey, I'm not gonna sing if you don't sing with me, you know what I'm saying? Aye, yo man. For the last time, I can't hear you. I need to get it from you. I need to get it from you. So I need you to sing along with me. It's not so hard, I tell you. 1 and 2, we go. 1, Saniega con. Kulam tanami. Kulam tanami we. Kulam tanami we. Genge bakatiko zakui bom bimbilo. Genge ba zakui bom bimbilo. Genge ba katiko zakui bom bimbilo. Genge ba katiko zakui bom na when zakui bom bimbilo. Little girl, when the time comes for you to be yourself, when it seems you're all alone in the dream, believe in love. Remember, girl, it's in you. Don't forget, child, that your arms are like the waves of the ocean. Remember, girl, it's in your hand. You can touch it, girl. Oh, little girl, let your dreams carry you. When the horizon, it seems like a distant wish, when it seems that you are alone down in the dream, when the sky, it becomes a limit. Reach, child, beyond it. Remember, girl, I said it's in you. Don't forget, child, that your arms are like the waves of the ocean. Remember, girl, it's in your hand. You can touch it. Oh, little girl, let your dreams carry you. Please give it up for Mandela. Naikhumbula mosne. Okay, nilibele na. You forgot about it. Yeah? 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 Hey, 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 ah. Naikhumbula. Hey, 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 ah. Hey, okay, you sang the song again. So, hey, 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 ah, hey, ah, hey, hey, ah, hey, ah. Zanenzela ngokwami ndi hey kabambe sadado Thank you so much. You guys are lovely. Give yourselves a round of applause. Thank you. Hey. My name is Asanda Mqeki. Thank you for inviting me here. And thank you for lending me your ears. I want to sing with you. I'm going to use this opportunity to sing with you. You see, I like to sing with my crowd. So the next song I'm going to do right now is called Nobakiti, a song, it's my song. You can find it in my album. My album was released in 2019. It is available on all digital platforms. The name of the album is called Nobakiti. Sing here also. Brace your soul. Oyazulu umhlaba wonke ngakhathali intombazana uNobakithi. Oyazulu umhlaba wonke ngakhathali uNobakithi. Uyele ekhaya kulo mama ntombazana Nobakithi. Uyele ekhaya kulo mama Nobakithi. Oyazulu umhlaba wonke ngakhathali intombazana. Nobakithi ngoba uyabale lokhu Nobakithi akayazi imvelaphi yakhe yena senincede noNobakithi lixesha lakhe ekhaya wena obixesha lihamba wena Nobakithi mvulela indlela uNobakithi akayazi imvelaphi yakhe yena senincede noNobakithi lixesha lakhe asabe songa sithi ayo Thank you. That song is a very special song. It's 10 years this year, by the way. Yeah, 10 years this year. It's coming all right. It's coming all right. I see now people are loving it now because we're playing it more. We never used to play our music. You know, when you're so scared, you're starting out, you're so scared to play your own music, you want to play other people's music. Oh, no ways. Right now, we can play our music now, and you guys can sit down and listen. So, you know what? Tell me something. How was it? You know? That's what, you know? Yeah, you know? Because when we were doing it, we were on some, this is beautiful. And then you guys, okay, fine, you think it's beautiful. Thank you so much. Now, I don't know if some of you do know the song, My Baby Just Cares For Me. I don't know, some are older than some are very young. And do you guys know My Baby Just Cares For Me? My baby just cares for me. You guys know that song?
Yeah, but I'm going to do my own rendition of that song. Nina Simone did that song. For those that don't know, they don't know. Okay, so after here, you must go say Nina Simone, my baby just cares for me, and say Nina Simone. And then you say my baby just cares for me. Asandam Klegi. And then there by YouTube, it's there, it's there. And then you do this. We're going away from jazz a bit to give it a nice R&B feel, nice soulful feel. My baby don't care for shows. My baby don't care for clothes. My baby just cares for me. My baby don't care for the cars and races. My baby just cares for those high-tone places. Let's tell us not his style, and even learn a tennis smile, and it's something that he just can't see. My baby don't care who knows him, 'cause my baby just cares for me. My baby, my baby, my baby. My baby don't care for shows. My baby don't care for clothes. And no, 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 no. He only just cares for me. Oh, I wonder what's wrong with my pretty, pretty baby, 'cause my baby just cares for my baby. He only just cares for me. She cares for my baby, my baby, my baby don't care for shows, and my baby don't care for clothes, no, no. My baby just cares for me. My baby don't care who knows him, 'cause my baby just cares for me. I want you to say, listen to me, listen to me. So you go, my baby, my baby, hey. My baby, my baby. My baby, my baby, my baby. I'm playing bass. My baby, my baby. My baby, my baby, my baby. So, ooh, my baby, 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 yeah. Ooh, my baby just cares for me. She cares for me, for me, for me. Yeah. Oh, baby, oh, baby. She cares for me. He cares for you. She cares for me, she cares for me, he cares for you. She cares for me, he cares
Thank you. Colleagues, that was Asanda Mkweki. I'm going to the mic. It's too far from me. That was Asanda Mkweki, our Gqeberha-born singer and songwriter. She tends to mix jazz, hip-hop, and kwaito sometimes. She has traveled the world. She has sang in different international stages, inspired by the likes of Mamusbongiro Kumalo, and worked with the soil. She's recently did a lot of video, radio producing, and also one of the recent shows was called The Baladier. And she was recently featured on Ilembe. Asanda, we thank you. Before I say anything, I need to call on Professor Pamela Maseko, who is representing the Office of the Vice Chancellor, to come and open and welcome the guests. Let me just read quickly. Professor Maseko is currently the Executive Dean of the Faculty of Humanities here at Nelson Mandela University. She has worked over 25 years at various higher education institutions in South Africa. She's one of the founding members of the National Institute for the Humanities and Social Sciences Board. She's also part of the council members at the Council for Higher Education, which is chair, and also recently served as a member of the Higher Education Quality Committee. And she has also served as a Ministerial Oversight Committee on Transformation in South African Public Universities. Maseko received her bachelor and honors degree from the University of the Western Cape, her master's PhD, and postgrad diploma in higher education from Rhodes University, Makanda. She's a social scientist specializing in a historical sociolinguistics. Her research includes language policy planning, language and learning in higher education, and historiography of South African literature. Professor Maseko has held tenure at the University of Cape Town, Rhodes University, University of the Western Cape, and at the Northwest University as Executive Dean of the Faculty of Humanities. She has also held few fellowships at universities, both locally and internationally. She's received many numerous grants and awards, so she's able to source funds for us at Humanities. The most important thing that I can say about Prof. Maseko, who has been a co-traveler with us in this journey since 2021, when we were conceptualizing this journey, is that Prof. Maseko is an academic. She's a scholar. She has produced, edited 5 academic books, journal titles, and book chapters. Her passion for the 19th century early African thinkers has produced a new generation of scholars that I've been working with that are now unearthing, preserving, and archiving some of the women like PHYLLIS NTANTALA. So on behalf of the VC's office, let me invite Professor Pamela Maseko on stage.
Thank you so much, Program Director. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. As indicated, I offer words of welcome on behalf of the Office of our Vice Chancellor, Professor Sibongile Khumalo, who is currently not able to attend today. I hope I still have my job properly too. I feel like I'm doing a Joe Biden here. Sincere apology. Let me start all over again. I hope that doesn't make it. It will be edited out. Again, I offer words of welcome on behalf of the Office of our Vice Chancellor, our dear Professor Sibongile Muthwa, who is currently not able to attend in person because of international work travel. I would like to extend a warm welcome to you all, those present here in Gqeberha, and those who are joining us virtually in different social media platforms. First, let me recognize the leadership of our university, the Nelson Mandela University. The Chancellor of the University, Dr. Geraldine Fraser-Muleketi, the Chairperson of Council, Ambassador Nozipo January Badel, the Vice Chancellor, Professor Sibongile Mutwa, the Acting Vice Chancellor, Dr. Muki Mueng, the Acting Deputy Vice Chancellor, Research, Innovation and Internationalization, Professor Hendrik Lloyd, the Senior University Management, most of them are watching online, Deans of Faculty, and I saw Professor Lynn Biggs, from Dr. Lynn Biggs from the Law Faculty, the Deputy Dean. Let me start, Lindy, with my Deputy Dean, Dr. Jackie Luck, the Deputy Dean of the Faculty of Humanities, and then Deputy Dean of the Law Faculty, Dr. Lindy Kotsie. I also want to acknowledge Professor Dennis Zinn, former Deputy Vice Chancellor, Learning and Teaching at the university. Hi, Prof. And then, of course, Mr. Alan Zinn, who is the chairperson of the Institutional Public Lecture Committee, chairperson, as well as the manager of the Nelson Mandela Press, the Mandela Press. Let me also extend a warm welcome to our visitors today, our co-hosting partners from the University of Fort Hare, represented here by Dr. Connie Bitso. And then the Dr. PHYLLIS NTANTALA Jordan in Balfour Families, represented by Mr. Nkosi Pendulwe Ntantala, and then the PRUDENCE MABELE family members, represented here by Azelina and Musa MABELE. Our guest speakers for this year's lecture, I can't wait. Nana Takwa Chekima and Koketso Mueti, who are going to help us make sense of the theme in celebration of Ntantala and Mabele's works. Nana is accompanied here by her 4-year-old daughter, who I met earlier, Asante Chekiama. I don't know if I said Asante must wave. I can't see her here today. Both our keynote speakers will be introduced in detail later in the program. Colleagues, you're all welcome. Of course, I can't leave out the students and the learners who are here today, both from the students from the University of Fort Hare and from Nelson Mandela University, as well as high school learners from Masifunde Development Organization, and their teachers, as well as Woma High School, Masipatisane, and Kwezilomso High School. So all of you colleagues, welcome to the third installment of the Joint Institutional Public Lecture in honor of Dr. PHYLLIS NTANTALA and Prudence Mabele. As Nelson Mandela University, we're fortunate to host this lecture for the second time since 2022. The theme, Black Feminist Works, is a good follow-up from the previous two themes, which were a clarion call to all of us. In 2022, the lecture was titled, Let's Hear Them Speak, with keynote addresses by Dr. Mampele Rampele and Lebogang Ramofoko. In 2023, we were hosted by the University of Fort Hare at the Miriam Makeba Hall in East London, and the theme of the lecture last year was Speaking Truth to Power. And we featured keynote addresses by Dr. Stella Nyanzi and Sibongile Ndashe. I remember these all these lectures as if it was yesterday. These celebrations are not merely to showcase the works or contributions of times of the two brave women, Tantala and Mabele. This moment should serve as a revival of our imagination in finding alternative ways of thinking and solutions to the multi-crises defining our society today. The whole of humanity is faced with different forms of crisis: unending wars, violence, natural disasters, loss of life, heavy militarization of global relations, enduring inequalities, and deepening mental health crises. Desiree Lewis and Khabiba Badedron, in their edited book titled Surfacing and Being in South Africa, remind us that this work is not just about reclaiming identities, but it is for envisioning new ways of being human. It is important to note that both the work and labor and works as legacies and traditions of African thought could help us in reimagining new ways of being in the world, new ways of occupying power, new ways of thinking about intergenerational socio-economic justice, new ways of centering women and queer people's dignity while protecting our planet. In the words of Msimang, in her description of the character of Prudence Mabele, she says, life of reimagination of new ways of being in the world happens in conversations, in the time it takes to sit with one another. And I believe that this is one such conversation. Encouraging us to redraw the borders of science and humanities, our Vice-Chancellor, Professor Sibongile Mutwa, in her inaugural speech, has noted that to be human and to cultivate humanity as a key message of Mandela University requires that the frontiers between science and humanities be reconceptualized and redrawn, hence the call to revitalize the humanities. Memorialization work shifts the responsibility to each and every one of us here to creatively seek ways that center our communities in our scholarships, teaching and learning, whilst building sustainable institutions that continue to feed our democratic values, celebrating difference whilst anchored in the dynamics of African knowledge systems. The call made by PHYLLIS NTANTALA in the context of the enactment of the Bantu Education Act in 1953 and is captured in her autobiography, A Life's Mosaic, is apt today as it was then. She orders that we cannot, no matter what the odds, stand idly by and let African society be condemned to a world of darkness and ignorance, a society that will never fit in any way in the world after being shut away from the rest of humanity by institutions of power. So therefore, through this collaborative work between our university, Nelson Mandela University, and the University of Fort Hare, we need to be aware of the responsibility, the values, and benefit of bearing such big names in the African Academy. This collaborative spirit should guide us in envisioning a just society inspired by both Dr. PHYLLIS NTANTALA Jordan and Prudence Mabele. Before I go sit down, these three women that I'm about to acknowledge don't like me doing this, but I would like to acknowledge the organizing committee and call them by name. Know that this is the one institutional public lecture where I know I sit back, I relax, and I just come here and try and look pretty. But I would like to thank the organizing committee from Mandela University and Fort Hare University for bringing us this third installment of the lecture titled Black Feminist Works. I wish to single out Professor Zetu Matebese, Professor Pumla Kola, and Professor Babalwa Makokwana. Thank you so much for doing this, not for the faculty, for the university and the region and the country as well, and the continent, because of the nature also of the people you attract here. We're speaking for the continent. It's high time that our views are heard from the African perspective, not from the other. So thank you for that. So again, colleagues, with those few words, colleagues, friends, students, learners present today, I welcome you on behalf of the Vice-Chancellor, Namkelekile Nkosi kakhulu.
Thank you so much, Professor Maseko. She has been part of the experience, along with Professor Andre Kiet. I just need to make sure that my salary is paid too. No, without jokes, colleagues. Professor Andre Kiet, Professor Maseko, Professor Sibongile Mutwa have been co-travelers throughout these different sessions of this. We don't take it for granted that we have leadership in Mandela that is actively involved in this kind of work. So we deeply appreciate having deans, DVCs here. So we cannot underestimate that. Not every university is as dynamic as the African university like Mandela. So, moving on, coming all the way from East London to speak to us, I'm sure you have already on your programs, to reflect a bit about the meanings of these collaborations since late 2021 is Dr. Connie Bitso. Dr. Connie Bitso is the director of the University of Fort Hare Libraries and project leader for the PHYLLIS NTANTALA Collaborative Library. She is the deputy chair of the Southeast Academic Libraries Systems Consortium and a member of the South African National Library Information Consortium Board of Directors. Connie is the past chair of the ELIASA Research Training Interest Group. She has edited books, published chapters and articles in reputable journals, and is a regular speaker at national and international conferences. She has a doctoral degree in information science from the University of Pretoria. She also holds a master's degree in library and information sciences, an honors degree in information science, and postgraduate diploma in library and information sciences from the University of Cape Town. She has graduated with a Bachelor of Science Education from the National University of Lesotho. Before her current position, she was a senior lecturer at UCT, teaching, among other courses, teaching and learning for LIS professionals. She has over 25 years of experience in the education sector, from basic to tertiary education, specifically in teaching and learning, individual capacity development, research supervision, dissertation examination, research reviews, and thesis writing. And she is now in an academic library directorship and leadership. Her research interests include information literacy for the digital age, research data management, information seeking behavior. Most important thing, she is the director of that PHYLLIS NTANTALA Collaborative Library. Thank you so much. Over to you, Connie.
Good afternoon, good evening. Thank you so much. I think to save time, I'll start by saying all protocol observed. Professor Maseko here has really welcomed us and went through the protocol and also thanked the organizers. So the bulk of the work has been done for me. However, I would like to acknowledge and thank our musician, our artist. Oh my goodness. She revived us. You revived us. You really gave us energy. Asanda, a renowned international musician, vocalist, composer. It is a privilege and honor to have you here, you know, playing for us and rejuvenating us, giving us all this energy. And I liked it when you say, you are going to sing with me. You know, you really cheered us up. I think I also, on behalf of the University of Fort Hare, greet the NTANTALA family and the MABELE family here in our midst and also watching online. And I think I would like to really go into the gist of my messages and cut off and wipe off all those greetings because they've been done by Prof. Maseko. But thank you for hosting us, and really it is a pleasure. We feel welcome after all that message. Colleagues, there's an ongoing collaboration between the University of Fort Hare and Nelson Mandela. And there are themes of these lectures that were held from 2022 up until now. But we know that generally, collaborations, because my role here is to reflect the meanings of this collaboration between UFH and NMU. We know that generally collaborations are vital for scientific knowledge. I mean, they are a platform where resource sharing is thriving. They are a cross-pollination of ideas, and we also find that they actually broaden the horizons of knowledge, and they bring multiple perspectives. There's the humanities, there's the social sciences, there's also the natural sciences, but they really bring the richness of transdisciplinarity, interdisciplinarity, and multidisciplinarity in science as a whole and in citizen science and the involvement of citizens in scholarly communication. From my understanding, the fundamental purpose of this NMU and UFH collaboration that has made us to gather here today, once again for the third time, is to honor these two phenomenal women, PHYLLIS NTANTALA and Prudence MABELE, who in various ways in our different communities of practice, we are actually still really learning from their works, appreciating the value. We have heard of how much literary work they've produced. And the most important thing is that this collaboration really seeks to open and develop a gender corridor for the Eastern Cape. It champions research and knowledge production on feminism, women's studies, gender and queer studies in the Eastern Cape, but from the African perspective. It is a recognition of two Black women who are very industrious, in my view, tenacious feminists and brave activists who showed phenomenal courage during difficult times. The opportunities, the technologies were not yet as advanced during those years as it is now. I think they really shaped the way we envision and see the world today and the way we envision the future. Burning the midnight oil, persevering and moving on against all odds. They have managed to persevere and produce outstanding intellectual contributions that have now cemented our academic projects and the research enterprise in our institutions. The importance of this collaboration in feminism and cognate fields is that of being the pillar of quality, impactful research, and multidisciplinary scholarship that contributes to crucial knowledge in society. You know, information, because I'm viewing it from the information science perspective, it's like oxygen. We are breathing it, and we are not paying attention to it. But once it can be plucked off, there's panic and there's havoc. Without information, there is the menace and the dangers of the society that we see today. It is so important that society understands and gets authentic information, because there's a lot of misinformation out there. There's a lot of inaccurate data. But through collaborative research such as this one, there is authentic data that is generating authentic information so that it really demystifies and bring in knowledge that can be practically applied in our society. Working in the library and information sector, I must confess that it is really long overdue to have the digital archives of African black feminists like PHYLLIS NTANTALA and PRUDENCE MABELE. We really have to work very hard so that next year when this lecture is held, we are actually unveiling and publicizing and really, opening to the public the digital archives of these two scholars. Because that makes it, information to be discernible to the global arena and to be accessed and used in an ethical and legal manner. There's so much misuse of information. There's so much dilution of authentic information and pollution out there. I believe there are many collaborations in the Eastern Cape, but being in this space, allow me to say which has been alluded to earlier, the PHYLLIS NTANTALA Collaborative Library. This iconic collaboration between UNISA, UFH, and Walter Sisulu University is one of its kind. And I remember in 2018, as we were preparing for its opening, there was a naming process. It was a rigorous process of naming that building. These three collaborating institutions had an assignment to go and each of them to sit down and come up with a name and a rationale why it should be named after PHYLLIS NTANTALA. I'm standing here proud to say that University of Fort Hare came up with the name of PHYLLIS NTANTALA. And his rationale was PHYLLIS NTANTALA was not only a feminist, but she contributed to a lot of literary works. So being a library, it has to be associated with the literary works. It has to be named after a woman and who was strongly affiliated to the Eastern Cape by birth. She was born in the Eastern Cape, and she was one of the first scholars, the first female graduate of the University of Fort Hare back then. And the insights and the experiences and the lessons of working in that collaborative space named after our iconic figure, PHYLLIS NTANTALA, are so rich that they cannot be shared in 10 minutes. This trilateral collaboration has presented, and those insights and experiences are actually data that propels us to write a book, those of us that are collaborating in that space, so that we can actually continue the legacy of PHYLLIS NTANTALA and the works that she has stood for. At the apex is the continuous networking of our students from the three universities and the academics and end users that converge into that space day in and day out, and 24 hours a week and 365 days a year. But of utmost importance that I would like to underscore is the empowerment of the collaborative librarians, the librarians that are working there, not only in their core business, but in leadership and relationship building and in sustainable partnerships. Collaborations and partnerships, they are very rich, but they also come with managing ourselves and managing the collaboration and the different personalities that come into play. As I conclude, let me indicate that there are multiple meanings that one could derive out of this UFH and NMU collaboration. But I just want to flag on one basic, simple meaning that I think from my perspective would like to share this evening, is the need for well-researched information. Because there's so much need for this thing that there are myths and there's a lot of misinformation, especially concerning women, sexualities, the queer, and everything else that goes around it. And, to such an extent that it is so sad that we have got sadly saying that gender-based violence is a pandemic in our society. And it is mostly as a result of lack of knowledge, lack of information. So this research and this collaboration is gradually building information that will lead to profound understanding, so that at least we hope and we can see that Society is well informed, and there's no need for these menace and havoc and wars and killings of innocent souls. So we have to really create the crux of critical issues in our society, such as understanding feminism, black women, gender studies, sexualities, the queer, and among many others. So with these few words, we welcome the invitation. We are happy to be here, and we are looking forward to the next lecture at the University of Fort Hare next year.
We are literally sprinting through the program. Please bear with us. But now I have to invite the feminist rogue, the beautiful professor, a friend, also the chair of the African Feminist Imagination. Let me go straight to what she has done. She holds a DPhil in post-colonial studies from the University of Munich in Germany. She is a graduate of the Universities of Cape Town and Warwick at the UK. She has authored several books, including Rape, a South African Nightmare, which won the 2016 Sunday Times Alan Paton Award for Nonfiction. Another book, A Renegade, called Simpiwe, by MF Books and Jacana in 2013, Reflecting Rogue, Inside the Mind of a Feminist in 2017, Miriam Tladi, Writing Freedom by HSRC Press, 2022, and Female Fear Factory in 2021. One of my favorite books by Pumla, What is Slavery to Me, is not listed here. I consider it as one of the classics. Colleagues, friends, let me welcome Upumla to tell us why we chose this theme.
Habari yenu. Yemo akwaba. Muriega. Dumelang. Potani. I want to start with a reminder contained in the words of the wonderful Isabella Matambanadzo, poet, essayist, short story writer, wordsmith extraordinaire, and movement builder. That ours is a feminism that offers us a citizenship more capacious than that offered by nationalism and the nation state. A place for our emboldening rage. A place of love. A political home. That for those of us who claim both African and black feminist as label, for whom black feminist works. We, as Matambanazo tells us, we are the daughters of the soil, and the soil belongs to us. We claim our rights and entitlements not as an act of benevolence from governments and constitutions, but by a sacred process of belonging. And I bring her words into conversation and into dance with those of Desiree Lewis and Habiba Baderoun, who insist, as we do, on the need to avoid fixing black feminist ways of seeing to one place in order to better acknowledge the global and regional diversity of black feminisms, and to tend to what Lewis, in many of her essays, has traced as the radical imagination of black feminism across multiple continents, or what Carol Boyce Davis has called black feminism's migratory capacities. In selecting this year's theme, Professors Babalwa Kokwana, who introduced me, Professor Zetuma Tebeni, and myself, Professor Gola, we wanted to spotlight the work that black feminism has done, does, and will continue to do in the world. Its innovations, its contestations, its disruptions, its tools and techniques, its possibilities, its play sites, its excavations, its world-making energies, its difficulties. Here we insist on black feminism as a generative and productive force of world making in ways seen and unseen. Black feminist work is our stubborn insistence as feminist professors, researchers, writers, activists, artists, theorists, and agents in our own name on pinpointing, tracking, spotlighting, and taking seriously black feminist work across geographies and timescales. And so, black feminist work is capacious enough to hold the pioneering work of Prudence MABELE, whose determined genius saw her speak about her own HIV/AIDS status on national and international platforms when people were still being killed for suspicion of being infected with what in those days we just called AIDS. It is not just courage. It is also the imagination to be one of the leaders in turning around HIV's meanings by being at the forefront of turning HIV from a death sentence to breaking unjust laws whenever necessary in order to make sure that we could eventually, as a country, have the most comprehensive public HIV treatment and management landscapes. It is the determination to build and rebuild organizations and platforms and to craft a language that enables us to now think of people with HIV as not sick bodies, but vibrant, living, imaginative, joyful, full beings who have access to everything that makes us human. This, too, is the product of black feminist imagination. And don't forget it when the names that led to these movements are enumerated. Prudence joins us today from the ancestral realm as we remember and celebrate her stubborn, beautiful, cheeky, generative feminist work and style. Prudence lived for nearly 3 decades with HIV and continued to work in South Africa and across the world in black feminist, in African feminist, in queer, always together, unapologetically, beautifully, and effectively. We inherit and enjoy today the products of her feminist work and works in ways sometimes we do not even recognize. Black feminist work and works calls to mind Bev Ditsi, who put LGBT rights on the human rights agenda globally at the 4th UN World Conference on Women in Beijing in 1995. And before that, the women co-founders of the Black Consciousness Movement in South Africa, whose names we omit, some of whose names are household names in other ways. Mamphela Ramphele, Thenjiwe Mtintso, Nomsisi Krai, Deborah Machoba. We recognize the black feminist of women in the nationalist liberation movements across the continent. Wambui Otieno, Mau Mau scout, politician, litigator in her own name, and Kenyan woman who insisted on the right to love who she chose, unapologetically, and to write and speak in her own name so that we, too, could stand as her proud heirs. As I name Wambui Otieno, I conjure the energy of other radical black feminist ancestors, Audre Lorde from the US and the Caribbean, whose work continues to teach us about power, imagination, and sexuality. Ama-Ata Aidu from Nana's home country, whose visionary creative theorization speaks well beyond the grave. Miriam Tladi, who reminded us that her black feminist rage was as life-sustaining as her black feminist love. The phenomenal German black pioneer feminist May Ayim, poet, educator, theorist, who said, "The experience of having to scrutinize and explain my situation again and again to others helped me achieve more clarity for myself until I came to realize that I don't owe anyone an explanation." The Brazilian black feminist activist and history-changing politician, Marielle Franco, who was killed for being a black feminist, who was killed with a spray of bullets that also killed her driver and comrade, Anderson Pedro Gomez, for being a black feminist queer politician, unapologetic in her criticism of Brazilian police brutality, racism, institutionalized misogyny, and extrajudicial killings. Her last event, after which she was shot, was interestingly a meeting with other radical black feminist Brazilians. It was called Young Black Women Moving Power Structures. Like her many supporters who bring Brazilian publics to a standstill, and like Namibian feminists and queer activists who do the same, we declare Marielle Presente. We are here as black feminists across the world, and we do the work, produce the works in dangerous and less dangerous times. Like the radical black feminist lesbian leaders we have just laid to rest, Vuyiswa Gladys Nikelo, Pindile, Lindy Wengobo, and beloved Thamsanqa Skaps Zulu. We understand that black feminism works in the world, in material, spiritual, and poetic ways, in the same way that as a little girl, Scottish black feminist Jackie Kay kisses a poster of Angela Davis as a little girl and hopes that Angela Davis can feel her little girl kiss all the way in a US jail. It's in Patricia McFadden building a feminist studies center in Hare in the late 80s and 90s, the young woman who set up the Women of Color Consciousness Raising Group, the AGI, the capacity to think of black feminist fugitivity, as the work of Agugo Emejulu reminds us. And sometimes, like black feminist British, Guyanese poet and novelist reminds us, we do so in the battlefield of language. So we too can hopefully declare, like her, that it is the battle with language that we love. Mindful of the interplay between work and works as entangled and braided into each other, we recognize the importance of black feminist thinking, scholarship, activism, movement building, theorization, discovery, adventure, and imaginative energies as work that shapes the world, as both in itself work and as the product of serious work. By serious, I mean consequential, world-making, material. As Babalwa Goqwana, herself a sociologist of labor, whose work inspires us to think and rethink the categories of understanding, the meeting places of labor practices, policies, legality, nationalist logic, and place, reminds us. It is important to pay attention to what is considered work, when and by whom. It is equally important to pay attention to the sources of concepts, ways of working, of institution building that are named, and which ones are unnamed and rendered generic. I want to stay with this idea of the sites of knowledge generation for a little while longer, thinking with Magoqwana, my colleague, my friend here, because when we claim a strong black feminist lineage, we are often invited to think of romanticized African femininity. With Magoqwana, we refuse this as our only past and claim not an inherited victimization or stoic, uncomplaining deployment of strong femininity or motherhood and age against women, but one that equips us to think as creators of freeing cultures in a long line of such thinkers. As we do so, on Zethu Matebeni's visionary invitation, we think from our location in order to rethink knowledge production in sexuality and gender relations, grappling with the brutal violence, but never accepting this as the end point, taking seriously lives, experiences, and ways of imagining ourselves in pleasurable ways too. Black feminists love and dance and laugh, of course. Black feminist work we do not just live in the mess of the female fear factory, important as this is. Black feminist work in the world has given us important frames to understand how power makes the world in violent and freeing ways, and enabled us to think about how we might unmake violent power with a keen eye to the specific ways in which what Bell Hooks has called white supremacist capitalist patriarchy shapes what is possible and in symbolic and material ways. Black feminist work is everywhere in Phyllis Ntantala's genre-bending work as literary translator, author, journalist, as a radical woman in the anti-racist, anti-colonial, and anti-apartheid struggle, whose fury was unleashed on those who reduce women's contributions to appendages of powerful men in history. She had very little patience, and I listened to her speak a few months before her death in her old age, and she was unapologetically rageful at the reduction of women to appendages in history, or appendages of powerful men, rather than as radicalizing agents, her language, not mine. She had little patience for intellectual laziness and was deeply invested in careful tending to the textures of Black women's lives and Black institutional life. Now, as I wrap up, I would be remiss if I did not mention, and she's not going to like this, if I did not mention Dr. Connie Bitso's leadership in the naming of the Forte UNISA Walter Sisulu University on the Forte East London campus as the Phyllis Ntantala Library. She talked about it here as something that the institution did, and was quite humble about her own contribution. As we unapologetically do the work and produce the works as products, as exhibitions, films, literary texts, shape constitutional protections, co-lead international cases, as we see Adila Hasim in front of the IJC, we are everywhere in this year's theme. We do more than give credit where credit is due. We also claim Black feminist credit as our due. Welcome. Enjoy Black feminist hospitality, beauty, genius, mischief-making, organizational energy, scholarship, music, and this curated space.
Pagama, 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 mfazo mnyama, Iklesha, Pagama, 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 mfazo mnyama, Iklesha. Bayafuna ukucula zethu, bayafuna ukucula. Masime kancinci. Asoqotho. This is my friend Uzethu. We're moving now to the next segment of this beautiful feminist work that works, as Pumla said. Professor Maseko said, this is the space to invigorate reimagination of what it is to be human. Dr. Connie Bitso told us that we need to stick to digitizing this work so that the students that are here today will not have to do what we are doing today in 50 years' time to come. There is a lifetime frame and lifetime history of the two women that is running for the students that are here to understand the impact and the works of these women. Zethu is one of those people that has been and also invested in providing alternative ways of theorizing about sexuality and queerness from the African continent. She is the chair of Sexualities, Gender and Queer Studies at University of Forte. She has published various key essays, articles, poetry, films, and volumes on African sexualities and gender diversity, including one, Reclaiming African Queer Perspectives on Sexual and Gender Identities. Queer in Africa, LGBTQI Identities, Citizenship, and Activism, with Munro and Reddy in 2018. Beyond the Mountain, Queer Life in Africa's Gay Capital. Zethu has been a visiting professor here at Nelson Mandela for the past 5 years, in Bochum, Germany, Yale University. Zethu is a sociologist, and she's ready to kill me right now. Please, let us move now to Zethu introducing the speakers and the conversation. I was on Mulala. We're here for joy.
The one thing you can know about feminists is that they don't believe in killing. We can just eradicate. Thank you, Babalwa. Pumla, my friend, you're on fire today. Beautiful, really, thank you. Molweni. Yeah, it's so beautiful. It's really beautiful. So for 3 years, as you know, we have brought powerful duos to various stages at Nelson Mandela University and University of Fort Hare. Black women who have reminded us, remind us to speak, even when our voices are trembling. Women who took power in their hands and turned it into revolutionary tools. In the first iteration of this public lecture, as you heard already, we termed it, or we called it, Let's Hear Them Speak, which was taken directly from Dr. PHYLLIS Ndala's words. We invited Dr. Mampela Rampele, you've seen the screen over there, and Ms. Lebogang Ramafoko. You remember how both called upon the spirits and presence of Dr. PHYLLIS Ndala and Prudence MABELE. At some point, we were lighting candles, and Prudence was in the room, and it was amazing. Last year, we invited Dr. Stella Nyanzi and Ms. Bungile Ndashe. They are bold and daring women, unafraid to challenge the status quo. This year, we invited Koketso Moeti and Nana Dakwa Chekima to help us reflect on Black feminist works in the lives and worlds of Dr. PHYLLIS Ndala and Prudence MABELE. It has been 3 years of working and thinking alongside each other. Crazy women who I love dearly, who have kept my sanity sitting all the way in East London. So as we know, the number 3 has significance in many cultures. And over these 3 years, we have gathered a lot of wisdom, a lot of deep understanding, and we have become bolder in how we want to envision the world. So this year, as Pumla has said, we were quite intentional about calling the theme Black Feminist Works. And we wanted the 2 speakers to help us think through that. So our first speaker is Koketso Moeti. And as I called Koketso, I wanted to listen to both of them, listen attentively, because you will be engaging with them after their talks. Koketso Moeti is a writer and campaigner who has served as a consultant on governance, civic action, and communication for an array of national and international organizations. She's also the founder of the message-based civic engagement tool, Amandla.mobi. Moeti founded the tool in 2014 after she began using her cell phone to organize against eviction in her Rooigrond community. And here, she found that her community members were likely to participate in public consultation periods when they were provided with the tools to organize. As such, Amandla.mobi connects users via WhatsApp and text messaging and enables them to organize on issues such as eviction, gender violence, and data costs. By 2019, the tool, Amandla.mobi, had over 300,000 followers or users. And one of Moeti's major campaigns led to something you may know, but you didn't know that Moeti did it. It was led the South African government to fully subsidize the cost of transition from analog to digital television, for poorer communities. So many of us benefited from that, and we didn't know that it was her work. So Moeti is an alumnus of the Inclusive Global Leadership Initiative, Summer Institute, and has published her writings in publications such as Al Jazeera, the Guardian, City Press, Africa as a Country, etc. Her work on civic engagement and activism led her to being named an Obama Fellow and an Aspen Institute New Voices Senior Fellow. And she was also selected for the 2019 Tech for Global Good cohort and serving as an expert advisor to the World Economic Forum's Partnering with Civil Society in the Fourth Industrial Revolution Initiative. So Koketso, I know you are very nervous. Just breathe. You are in beautiful Black feminist hands. Let's give a round of applause to Koketso. I'll bring you water. Okay. Thank you. Are you okay?
Yeah? Okay. Don't worry about it. I'll put it.
You can just grab it when you're
On Sunday, the 16th July 2017, my two kids and I attended Prudence Mabele's memorial service at Wits University. As we arrived, there were a number of people present, some familiar, some not. I took the kids to go get seated, and I went outside for a smoke break. As I was outside, a woman younger than myself came up to me holding the program and exclaimed, "I did not know that Prudence was," I quote, "involved in the treatment action campaign." When I was invited to this auspicious event, the memory came to mind because for me it demonstrates what I would like to foreground today: incomplete stories. I was a child when Prudence publicly disclosed her status. While I did have an inkling that it mattered, I would understand how much it mattered as I grew up. I grew up in a community that would end up being ravished by HIV/AIDS. I would later in Tshwane work at a drop-off center where I saw firsthand the consequences and outcomes of stigma. It was in a time when HIV/AIDS was still labeled Z3, when people suspected of merely being positive were being attacked. I remember when ARVs became available at the clinic close by to me, there was a separate line for those who were going to receive their ARVs. And in the mornings, you would see people queuing up to watch who would stand there, resulting in people not actually collecting what would be life-saving medication. At the drop-off center I worked at, we started delivering medication to people's homes. It became unsafe to do so in a marked vehicle. We would have to get cars, ask people in the community to drive us around, ask other people in the community to do it, because if you were seen and associated with the organization at someone's home, they may end up being accused of passing around the Z3. And it was in those moments that I understood the significance of what I had witnessed as a child with Prudence's disclosure. I would later go on to meet Prudence in person and learn there was so much more to her than the bravery that I saw as shaping her activism. Prudence could be mean. She was not always a smiling, happy-go-lucky person. And of course, as an awkward young person, I did not respond very well to meanness. But nevertheless, despite being a titan in her own right, like countless Black women, her story does not do justice to the complexity, the resilience, and the multifaceted dimensions that she held. Recognizing her bravery by the time I met her, I did not anticipate a woman who would laugh like that, a belly-deep laugh that would come almost as if from her soul. I did not anticipate, like one day when I ran into her at a certain organization, and for some reason we ended up having fun, that she could get up on her feet and dance in the ways that she did. The thing is, Black women activists like Prudence are often revered for their strength, but are seldom given space to express vulnerability, fear, and even doubt. And that is why I deeply appreciated acknowledgement of her own fears and vulnerabilities. For example, if I remember correctly, it was in 2013 when she was interviewed by Becky Sisa. She recalled the 2004 traditional healer protest against the treatment action campaign, saying, "I had to go collect their memorandum. ARVs were still new in South Africa, and as a healer, I was taking ARVs. It was serious. It was hectic,
I was scared. Those 3 words were so humanizing to me. It acknowledged that someone so big and so brave could also be so human and fear like the rest of us could. It was an important lesson to me that being courageous does not have to be a dehumanizing experience in which one denies the full range of emotions that one is capable of feeling. And I am truly grateful for those 3 words. I was scared. Too often, Black women are presented merely as symbols of resistance, but are rarely acknowledged as visionaries, trendsetters, and so on. And so on this note, I would like to draw your attention to a remarkable figure whose story can often feel overshadowed, whose incredible contributions sometimes feel like they have not received the recognition they deserve. PHYLLIS NTANTALA. I would discover her when I had access to an incomplete copy of her autobiography, A Life's Mosaic, in the 2000s. Prior to that, hers was not a name that I have heard, nor was it familiar to me. Reading A Life's Mosaic was quite the experience for me. It delved into her experiences in ways I don't often see. Her life, the relationships she had, centered on on how her activism would be shaped. Now, these dimensions of her life were not merely background details. They were critical in terms of understanding her motivations and the way she would develop her method of resistance. The struggles of Black women activists are deeply intertwined in their identities and their experiences in the many multiple roles they hold, as mothers, as daughters, as wives, as cousins, and so many other relationships that people hold. And so denying this tapestry of relationships, this rich tapestry of ways of being, and the complexities that it adds to people's activism is to deny their humanity. The narrow framing strips Black women of their humanity and reduces the activism to a singular narrative of struggle. And this is misleading. And also, it distorts so much else. In her life's mosaic, she writes about how her red blanket aunts back home, wives of men of means, were an inspiration to her, and how observing them going out to earn money, which, I quote, "It was known by their husbands that such earnings were for their personal use, to buy themselves beads and other ornaments they wanted. Their husbands had no say in such matters." It was through these observations that NTANTALA decided early on in her married life with Jordan that she would always work so as to have my own account and use my money to buy things I wanted and let him pay the house bills. I never asked him for permission to do that. I just told him this was how I was going to do it. An accomplished woman who some would see as having nothing to learn from the red blanket aunties did, and applied that lesson in such a meaningful way in her own life. In A Life's Mosaic, she goes on to write about leaving her 3.5-month-old baby behind to work at the library of Lovedale High School. It was an act that would shock many, as the spouses of professionals did not work. But it was an act that would enable others who had desired to work, but had not previously felt able to do so, to actually go on and do it. This is a powerful act. We sometimes think of activism as the big, visible moments that are out there, but we do not realize how the personal decisions that we make can have a massive impact on others and a knock-on effect that becomes enabling and allows others to tap into their own agency. As we delve into the work of both MABELE and NTANTALA, we must confront the incomplete narrative that has been woven around their legacies and the responsibility we carry to enrich and expand that narrative. Like many other women, both those who came before them, those of their time, and those of us who are here today, in their own ways, they are demonstrative of the countless women who have shaped the course of history. Yet somehow, their stories are rendered so incomplete. There is so much we still do not know, and so many aspects of the full range of their humanity that we are yet to acknowledge. It makes me very excited to see so many learners in uniform here, because it encourages me that you will not have to wait until you are an adult to discover women like these. Now, the stories of both NTANTALA and MABELE are not just stories about fighting against oppression. What is deep in the stories is the celebration of community, a celebration of culture, and a celebration of creativity. And it is important that we make deep attempts to complete these stories, because the stories we tell shape our understanding of history and influence the movements of today. In a time where the fight for justice is ongoing, we must ensure that we are able to draw inspiration from a complete and truthful account of those who have paved the way. To talk about a Black woman activist is not to pretend they were a lovely human being, cuddly and huggable all the time. That is not what they were. It means we have an obligation to amplify their voices in classrooms, in museums, in literature, in media. It means creating spaces such as this, where their contributions can be recognized and celebrated, and where we can engage with the full scope of the ideas and the environments that shape them. These women did not just happen. They were not an accident. They were products of their time, informed by the past as they actively shaped the future and the future that would be. So the challenge I leave with us today is then, how do we commit ourselves to telling the complete stories of Black women activists with the depth and the nuance and the respect that they deserve? We have a collective responsibility to recover these narratives, to celebrate these women, not just as historical figures, but as role models and mentors in our ongoing struggle for justice. So in closing, I invite us to think about the way we honor the lives of Black women activists, not just by recounting the battles they had, but by embracing the fullness of their stories and the fullness of their humanity for both those gone and those who are still today, and for those who are yet to come. I thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Koketso. We have a lot to think about. You've been given a challenge, so you'll have time to reflect on it. So now we'll call upon Nana Dakwa Sechiama. who's a Ghanaian feminist, writer, and blogger who co-founded the award-winning blog Adventures from the Bedrooms of African Women. You can go check it out. And this blog was to spark open conversations on sex and sexuality among African women. She also serves as a director for communications manager at the Association for Women's Rights in Development, as a member of the Black Feminist Forum Working Group. And she has also written several media platforms, including publications to Open Democracy, This is Africa, and The Guardian. Born in London and raised in Ghana, Nana Dakwa earned a Bachelor of Science degree in Communications and Cultural Studies from the University of North London and a Master of Science degree in Gender and Development from the London School of Economics and Political Science. She has also penned the Communications Handbook for women's rights organizations. And most recently, her book, which we discussed a few days ago, those of you who were around at the university, the book, The Sex Lives of African Women. It is available at Fogarty's bookshop. Go and buy it. It has published short stories in various anthologies across the globe. In 2011, Nana was named as one of Ghana's change makers by Arise magazine. And in 2022, she was named in the BBC's 100 Women's list as one of the world's inspiring and influential women of the year. What a privilege and honor to have you with us, Nana. Please come ahead.
Thank you so much. I'm going to ask you all to indulge me in an exercise which may feel a bit strange, but I hope you will go with the flow. Yes? Okay. So first of all, I want to ask you, if you're sitting, to make sure you're seated comfortably. Okay? Place your feet firmly on the ground. You can rest your hands on your thighs, or anywhere that feels good to you. And when you're ready, you can either lower your gaze or close your eyes. I even wish we could turn off some lights, but I don't know if... Okay, we'll keep the lights on, but you can close your eyes. I just want you to be present and to just be in your body and be right here. And just exhale. And just continue to breathe in and breathe out at a pace that feels comfortable for you. In a moment, I'm going to invite you to join me in a brief visualization exercise. I want you to imagine that you have lived a long, full, happy, healthy life. And all the dreams you had for yourself did come true. What was the dream that you had for yourself? What was the work that you did while you were on earth? It's been 7 years since you transitioned, and a group of your feminist colleagues, your friends, fellow activists, fellow comrades have gathered in a room to honor the incredible work that you did. Who would you want to be in that room? What would you want them to say about you? What would you want them to say about the legacy of Black feminist work that you contributed to? If there are people you want to name silently in your head, you can do so. And I'm just going to invite you to wriggle your fingers, wriggle your toes, Maybe while seated, sway gently side to side. And whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes and look at the person next to you and just smile at them. Thank you so much. Thank you. So there are many things that I would like to be remembered for when my time here on this earth is done. Chief amongst those is as someone who contributed to honoring the memories of my feminist ancestors. And so it is a special privilege to be invited here to do just that. And I'd like to thank the organizing committee for the annual Dr. PHYLLIS and NTANTALA and Prudence MABELE public lecture for granting me this incredible honor. I would also like to invite into the room our feminist ancestors, especially the two women we are remembering today. And thanks to audio technology, we're going to be able to hear directly the voice of one of the women in whose memory we are gathered here today. I also want to prepare you by telling you that right at the end of the clip you're about to hear, there is mention of sexual violence. And the folks at the back, are you going to help me?
My name is Prudence MABELE, and I'm the Executive Director of Positive Women's Network. Also, the African Women's Leaders Network, and a council member of the gender-based violence. One of the things that I wanted to share is the fact that South Africa is having a very big challenge relating to women abuse and young girls abuse. And recently we've had a 16 days of activism where we were in a township in Davidson, and we were talking to older women. They range between 70 to 80, and they were saying to us they need female condom. They want to put them on in case they get people coming to them to rape them. They shouldn't, be subjected.
And these are older women?
Yeah, these are women who are 80.
So this is a clip that I did with Prudence many, many, many years ago. And I feel very lucky because I also knew Prudence personally. And to know Prudence was to love her. She was full of light and a boundless, irresistible energy. I met Prudence when I was working as a communications specialist for the African Women's Development Fund, the first African feminist grant maker on the continent, which also supported the work of the Positive Women's Network, an organization that Prudence founded to provide support to women living with HIV and AIDS. Prudence was awe-inspiring. She worked tirelessly with and for women living with HIV and advocated nationally, regionally, and internationally for access to medication and better health care and support for women living positively. As you all heard from the clip, she also worked to resist the ongoing pandemic of violence that women experience, not just in this country, but around the world. Prudence was a woman of many facets. She was an activist and also a woman deeply connected to her indigenous spirituality, as the previous speaker mentioned. And in later years, I also got to know her as a Sangoma. Those who may know me know that I write and facilitate conversations around sex and sexualities. This too was a passion that Prudence and I shared. She was sex positive before the term became a buzzword. And I want to emphasize how radical that was, because the world we live in, and I sadly feel that's still the world we live in today, seeks to stigmatize and desexualize women living with chronic illnesses like HIV and AIDS. Prudence's body of work embodied the essence of Black feminist praxis. She was feminism in action. Sisterhood for Prudence was a doing word, a verb, an action. She exemplified the age-old feminist principle that the personal is political. And that too, comrades, is Black feminist work. Saying loudly and unapologetically, I exist and I'm here to fight for my rights and the rights of my community. Prudence was a part of and belonged to many communities and movements. I'm sure everyone would want to claim her as special to their particular community because she had that unique gift of pouring her all into any cause she joined. During the time I knew her, she was active in advocacy around HIV and AIDS, worked to resist gender-based violence, was active in Pan-African feminist spaces, and was also a member of the African Women's Leaders Network, a working group of high-profile African women advocating to strengthen sexual and reproductive health across the African continent. Can you tell that I love the theme that has been chosen for this lecture, Black Feminist Works? It's perfect. It makes one ask, what are Black feminist works? And Professor Pumla shared with us what Black feminist works are. And I also want to tell you some of what I think Black feminist works are. And part of what I love is the intentionality of the organizing committee and stating works as opposed to work. Because that too is Black feminist work, the intentionality in naming and opening space for multiplicities. I think Black feminist works are pluralistic. They center the needs of the most marginalized. Black feminist works center women and push back against the oppressive social structures that hold us back. Black feminist works are creative and multifaceted. All these characteristics are inherent in the lives and works of the two women we're commemorating today. And that too is feminist work, honoring our ancestors, those who came before us and lit a path so that our lives may be easier. In my opinion, centering Black feminist works also require one to engage in the art of lifelong learning. And in this regard, it's been a privilege to encounter the work of Dr. PHYLLIS and NTANTALA. Despite clear differences between the two women we are remembering today, any reading of Prudence and Dr. NTANTALA's respective works clearly shows that they shared a commitment to justice, empowerment, and liberation. If you look at their activism side by side, you can see a continuity of struggle, which is also a reminder that Black feminist works are not new. Our ancestors did the work, and we are fortunate to be able to continue in the struggle for freedom and liberation. And when I say struggle, I do not want us to think of pain and loss, although that too is part of our reality. I want us to think of the joy in being part of justice movements, the joy in having feminist comrades, and the many ways in which we love, support, and hold up each other. As a scholar and activist, Dr. NTANTALA's work laid the groundwork for conversations around education that we are still engaged in today. Her writings and advocacy highlighted the need to continuously address systemic inequalities, providing a critical analysis of the socio-political structures that perpetuate oppression. As a Ghanaian and an Ankan, I feel obligated to bring into this conversation the concept of Sankofa. So Sankofa is represented visually by a long-necked bird looking back at itself. It means one must go back into the past, take what is good, and carry it forward into the future. As academics, activists, creatives, and people here gathered, part of the work that we are called to do is look back at the lives and works of the Phyllises and Prudences of this world. What can we take forward from the ways in which they did their Black feminist works? What can we learn from them about how to organize and about how to be in community? I'm a big fan of letting people speak for themselves and through us. And because I was lucky enough to document Prudence's thoughts as part of my own Black feminist work, I want to invite you now to listen to another short clip from her.
I had had panties that they call bloody panties. The panties that I painted red just to show and to say to people, you have your hands are filled with blood because you are taking what we call a precious, underwear. We're covering ourselves, but you pull it down and forcefully. So with that project, I've had a lot of young men really feeling very provocative, fighting and making their case. And they even came to the women's prison because that's where I put the panties. The exhibition was there. They were saying to me, how can you be so brutal? I'm saying there's nothing brutal about it. This is what is happening. And the panties were ranging from a 97-year-old grandmother to a 3-month-old child. And it was a outcry to say, man, just review what you're doing to the country now. And with those panties, many men pulled out their cell phone and showed me that, look, we keep porno in our phones. And so when you women dress in a funny way, it's like you are inviting. And I had to sit them down and we had some, good discussion around. It doesn't mean if you are standing in the street, you're wearing a hot pant, you are asking for it. It doesn't mean if you ask if you're sitting alone in a bar and a guy comes and join you, that you ask for it. It doesn't mean so. We had to go through a lot of things. Even a sex worker doesn't deserve to be raped, even if they work in that industry. So it was taking time, but it made a lot of sense to some young men. At the end, they totally agreed, but it took a lot of convincing. So I think the country right now, it must have those conversations. If those conversations doesn't happen now, we are hitting for a disaster. We might as well use what I call Resolution 1320, is it 21? Yeah. The one that is used when a country is in a war, because really South Africa is in a war when it comes to this issue.
Although Prudence Mabele and Dr. PHYLLIS NTANTALA represent different generations of African feminisms, one thing they have in common is their fearlessness and the ways in which they spoke truth to power. In learning about Dr. NTANTALA, one of the things I have really appreciated is that she told her own story in the form of her autobiography entitled A Life's Mosaic, the autobiography of PHYLLIS NTANTALA. There are a number of articles and papers published online about Dr. NTANTALA, and one of the things that made me very happy was that they all cite her own autobiography as a primary source. And I think that's something that we can all take inspiration from, the need to document our own stories and seeing our lives as valuable sources of knowledge. From Professor Simpiwe Sasanti's paper titled PHYLLIS NTANTALA, An African Woman's Leadership and the Struggle Against a Pan-Eurocentric Education, I learned about NTANTALA's statement that women have to be a central pillar, and that unless the freedom to be achieved will in turn grant them equality and human dignity, they have no cause to commit themselves totally to the liberation struggle. This is something I completely resonate with as a feminist. I believe that Dr. NTANTALA was speaking in the context of the liberation struggle for apartheid. And from that, we can extrapolate to speak about the struggle for total liberation and freedom, such that all marginalized communities, women, gender non-conforming people, people with disabilities of all kinds, people living with chronic illnesses, LGBTQI people, poor people, need to be centered and struggles for equality and human dignity if we are to achieve liberation for all. Without centering the most marginalized of us, freedom will forever remain an illusion, with only the most wealthy and privileged amongst us being able to live in some semblance of dignity. I say some semblance of dignity because I don't think even the rich can be truly free if the rest of the world is hungry. hungry for justice, hungry for decent, enjoyable work, hungry for clean air, nutritious food, and safe housing. This is also what is remarkable about Black feminist works, their ability to address intersections of oppression and marginalization. At its best, Black feminist works centers the margins. Feminists know all too well how different forms of discrimination overlap and compound each other. Prudence MABELE understood fully that the experience of a Black woman living with HIV cannot be fully understood without considering the intersecting impacts of race, gender, health status, and socio-economic conditions. As activists, creatives, and scholars within realms, including gender, sexualities, and queer studies, we find ourselves at the confluence of multiple struggles and triumphs. By acknowledging and addressing these intersections, Black feminist work expands society's imagination, providing comprehensive frameworks towards liberation and justice. When I worked at the Association for Women's Rights and Development, we started to think collectively about feminist realities. What feminist realities have we created that bend the arc of our world towards justice, freedom, and liberation? I would agree that a recognition of who needs to be one of the central pillars in any collective struggle is one such feminist reality that we can collectively claim and hold. Another is the need to remember our heroic forebearers and continue their radical work. The world may seek to make our revolutionaries disappear, but it is our duty to amplify their voices, not just for now, but for future generations. It is our task to encourage biographies, to engage in projects that stimulate debates on the histories and roles played by women and other groups often disregarded. Documenting our stories is an act of resistance against erasure. Remembering and honoring our feminist ancestors is not just an act of reverence, it is a strategic and necessary part of our activism. It ensures that the hard-earned knowledge and experiences of past generations inform and strengthen our current efforts, not just for today, but for unborn generations. It ensures that future generations have access to the rich tapestry of experiences and contributions that have shaped our movements. Thankfully, we do not need to start from scratch. We have the wisdom and legacy of feminists like Prudence MABELE and Dr. PHYLLIS NTANTALA to guide us. Besides, creating spaces where diverse voices and experiences are not only heard, but valued and prioritized. It is critically important that we are proactive in amplifying Black feminist works instead of allowing the usual non-Black work and quotes to dominate the discourse. I'm currently working on a narrative book, and I am determined to only cite Black people. So in your daily work, I personally encourage each one of you to ask yourself the following question as many times as possible. Is there an African feminist I can cite? Black feminist works provokes, confronts issues head-on in creative and transformative ways. Black feminist works challenges the status quo and pushes boundaries. This was precisely what Prudence MABELE and Dr. PHYLLIS NTANTALA did, and we're grateful to them for the inspirational lives they led and the shining examples of Black feminist works that they have left behind. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Nana. I know the learners are leaving now, which is a pity because we did want them to participate in this conversation. But time does not allow for them to stay. But there are many other learners who are still here. And yeah, you've heard a lot, and before I start the conversation, I actually want to invite Koketso and Nana back to the stage, and please take a seat. And as I start the conversation with them, I would like you to reflect on what you have heard. There are many things that have been raised tonight. You may just want to reflect, you may want to ask a question. You were also asked to do certain things. At the beginning of Nana's talk, she said, imagine yourself, and how would you want to be seen? Koketso also asked us, how do we commit ourselves, to telling complete stories of Black women? So this is your opportunity to reflect back to Nana and Koketso, and say what is moving you at the moment. Yeah. So the floor is yours. Yes. There's none now. Yes. Say your name.
Oh, am I audible? Yes. Thank you very much for your contributions. Everything you said went in really, really well, and it sunk in. I think for me, it's oftentimes women are described as strong, revered, and the word often used is imbogodo, to be a rock, to be hard. I think for me, it's my question is, how can we, like you said, open up the door for a full range of humanity in a lot of the things that are happening in the world right now, strip us of our dignity, strip us of our softness as women, because we have to be strong and hard and come up against them. How do we maintain our softness? How do we open up the door for a full range of humanity and still maintain our softness, even though we're fighting all these other battles in being feminists, in feminist works?
Anybody else? Please. Reflections. There's a hand, There's a hand here, the green top.
Good evening. My name is Atengo Sikilane, and I'm a postgrad student. I'm sorry, Chair, but I really feel frightened. But because I'm curious, I really have to ask some of these questions. Look, when it comes to Black feminism, my understanding is that we've had quite a prominent figures, especially in our region, the region of the Eastern Cape, to be specific, and we have their monuments still present. And I can think of Lilian Ngoyi, Doranginza, and in the African continent I can think of Nana Ya Asantau, Naya Biingi, and the warrior queens of Benin and so forth. And these are well documented. I mean, even the victory of the Ashanti people against colonialism in Britain and their fight for the golden stool, that women played a major role in preserving that golden stool, the backbone of their spirituality, the Ghanaian people, that is. And even in South Africa as well, that our backbone was somehow violated because the people that were trying to dominate us knew the importance of women. So the story of Nongawose, because she was a female, a pure female, whatever that was communicated through her was basically what led to the significant landscape or shift in how we had that power finally taken off from us. So I'm just trying to understand now, in the contemporary setting, that what is the role of Black feminists in liberating the Black world, to be quite specific? And number two, and how do black feminists present themselves from infiltration of external agendas, especially in the destruction of the African family unit? Because remember, even if I can try to bring an expert from America, Jamaica, when I go back to Zweden tomorrow morning, the person who's going to be feeding or who's going to be preparing the young ones to go to school is going to be a woman. And that woman is going to take that child to the school, then she must go back, she must take a taxi to come and to work to Summerstrand. And we grow up like that, and these are the women that we hardly talk about, but these are the women that we highly respect. And somehow even us as young men, these are the women that we violate through our own ignorance. But central to all of this in our communities, the people that really hold us together is the women, and we cannot run away from that. So now I'm trying to understand now this setup. Is it because we really highlight the role of the black feminists from the low level to the mid level, if there are such levels? But I'm just trying to categorize society in the sense that we have, the normal setup of our communities, and then we have the middle class, and then the high level, which is the intellectual. What we have here, the type of women that we have here in our setup. So the reason why I was saying I was frightened is because sometimes these questions, they come out as being arrogant and also trying to so to speak. But I really want to understand between feminist and the gender, do we have a confusion between the two, the gender and the black feminist, or is because we're talking about the feminist and then there's gender? What are we really trying to achieve that? Because I do understand the feminist part, but do we really have to dig into the gender? Why? Is it because it is still us who are violating other people's genders, or is it because of external influence? So thank you, Chair.
Thank you. There's a hand over here with the cap. Thank you.
Am I audible? Okay. I'm challenging my public speaking, by the way. My question is, what should black feminists mean to young women, especially of South Africa of this day, whereby we have a high rate of teenage pregnancy, women are killed every day, they are sexually assaulted each and every day. So what idea should they have? And also here in South Africa, we come from backgrounds where we are mostly governed by our traditional customs, where we are every day told that this is how you should live as a woman and this is what you should do as a woman. And mostly it is in a manner where we have to praise a man and forget about us as women and our needs, desires, and wants. So that is what I actually want to understand. What should this black feminist idea mean to us as the young youth of South Africa? Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yeah. In front here, second row.
My question is, how can we balance cultural sensitivity with feminist values in addressing gender-based issues in diverse African contexts? Thank you.
Okay, we'll take two more, and then there's one right there, next to it, and then we'll come to you.
Hi everyone, my name is Lukolo Peter. I have a question that says, what role do you think men can play in supporting and amplifying African feminist movements?
Thank you, and in the brown top.
Hi everyone, my name is Onang. Hi Nana, I was with you the other day, and my main question today is, the other day you mentioned that we are the culture, we are carving our own culture at the present. So if we're trying to redefine feminism and femininity, do we need to redefine the term that the woman you spoke about, I'm sorry, I'm from the Faculty of Science, so I'm new to this. And so the women that we spoke about today, about Mabele and NTANTALA, is it? Yes. So if they paved our way to femininity, do we need to refine the terms of feminism back then? Or do we need to know that we knew the definition, but we need to introduce it to the other gender, that you were not seeing it from our perspective, you were not defining our femininity, we always knew. Do we need to redefine femininity, or do we need to introduce what we always felt, but were never spoken aloud? Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you so much. There's quite a few questions. I don't know, Koket, you would like to go first? Lots going on.
Testing. Okay. Culture is dynamic. We make culture all the time. We imagine new cultures and cultures get imposed on us. Cultures have served people who wanted to be powerful in some ways. You know, people will tell you today, being queer is un-African. We know how incorrect that is, right? And so that is such a good example of how we need to make culture. You know, we create culture all the time. And I think the thing for me, the way Black feminism makes this possible is through imagination. One of the things we have seen in our liberation movements across the world, right, where Black feminist works has been present, was the ability to imagine that we can give birth to something that hasn't been. There are so many instances of things that have gone on in the world that people were born into those circumstances, whether enslavement here or elsewhere, whether apartheid here or elsewhere, people who had no reason to believe that something else could be. But they did. They not only imagined it, but also the ways to actively create it, right? And I think that's the power of more complete narratives, that we can delve into that and learn about our imaginative capacity, right? Not only to imagine what could be, but what are the ways in which we can actively create it, because so many of our ancestors have done the same. We talk a lot, I know there's a lot of focus, and rightfully so, you know, we talk about intergenerational trauma and a whole range of things, but it would be amazing, and this broadening of narrative is about, what about that intergenerational wisdom, right? How do we start to tap into that? Because a lot of the questions that are being asked, or the struggles, they're not new. You know, a lot of what we are building, the worlds we are, it's not new questions. It's not new things. Cultural sensitivity is not an issue that just started now. It was there. And so I think that's the potential of Black feminist works in all of this, that the power to imagine and build something different has been modeled for us, and we have something to build off of, and we're not starting from scratch.
Thank you.
So I wanted to speak to how do we stay soft, right, in a world that tries to make us hard. I think we stay soft by centering ourselves. And that can feel very hard to do as a woman, you know, when the world has so many expectations of us, when our families and our cultures has a lot of expectations for us. And the thing that I have found most helpful is actually to just start your day by taking time for yourself before you do anything. You need to take some time to do something that will make you happy. And it could be just going for a 30-minute walk. It could be reading a book. It could be listening to a podcast while going on a walk. It could be preparing food for yourself. But before you do anything for anybody, just take some time for yourself, because that will keep you sane. That will keep you soft. And indulge in the things that bring you joy, right? Like we're here and we deserve joy and pleasure. So find something that makes you happy, and before you do anything for anybody, do that for yourself. And there was a question about how can men support the African feminist movement. Well, first of all, men can also be African feminists, right? Feminist people. I think there are good reasons why a lot of women are feminists, you know. And because I used to work for grant-making organizations, I always say the best way in which men can support is to fund the African feminist movement. Yeah, I'm trying to remember, were there other questions that... I'm not great at remembering and holding all the questions there too.
There was a question about the role that black feminists play in contemporary society. What is the role of feminism now? What is the role of black feminists now? I think, yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, you did. What should black feminism mean to young black South African women, given the difficulties?
Yeah. I mean, I think black feminism should be a source of inspiration to young South African women. I think it should be a source of freedom and going on a journey to free yourself, first of all, right? I think this is what is incredible about learning about our feminist ancestors, as well as feminists here today, to know that they are living their lives free and you have one life to live. And you do not have to, I don't think you have to do anything but be black and be feminist, and you have no choice but to die eventually. So while you're here, live your life on your own terms and find people who share the same values that you have, right? So you can be in community with each other. When you're not the only one, you don't feel alone, you don't feel scared. So, yeah.
Okay. Are there any other questions, thoughts, reflections? Because we'll take two more and then we'll wrap up here. There's a question with the person with the glasses, the denim jacket.
Hi, I'm having a lot of thoughts and questions at the same time. I'm not sure which one I'm going to translate first. So I am a trans man. I am a trans man, and a part of also, my dream as an academic is to also write about masculinities, contributing to, the feminist works. And so one of the things that I think I always sit with myself and trying to think of strategies to organize and contribute to the conversation is, also I'm from a village in Queenstown, a very small village, is how do we then, in the academic space, how do we take this information of feminist works and translate it to the general communities, and make it accessible to young men and young, gender diverse people that are not in this academic space, that don't necessarily speak these languages that we speak. And also how as an academic do you, because I've studied psychology for most of my academic life, and I've now just starting to get into the gender studies space. So a lot of it is a part of me when I read the books and listen to lectures, is that a part of me feels like I'm quite late, because I've been in the psychology space for a long time. So how do I, when I'm listening to and reading these papers, how do I overcome this sense of I don't know, lateness. Lateness, that if I did this earlier on, then maybe I could have had a lot of information and I could contribute better to the conversation as well. Yeah.
Okay, was there a last thought? Nowhere? Okay, there, yes.
Hi everyone, my name is Kanyisile Madonsela. My question is out of interest. I would like to know what made you guys to be feminist, and yeah, like what made you, and do you feel like feminism is just about women, like liberation for women, or is it for everyone? Is it liberation for everyone? Thank you.
Thanks. Okay. Yes, Nana?
I feel like feminism is about liberation for everyone, and feminism centers women as well, right? What made me decide to be a feminist? I think I discovered that I was a feminist, and I found the language at the age of 19. But when I look back at my own life, when I look back at my childhood, I could see I was feminist. You know, when I was a young girl, my mom would always call me and say, "Come and help me in the kitchen." And I would say, "I'm reading my book." It was an act of feminist resistance against women being forced to be in the kitchen. Of course, now I love cooking. And it wasn't until I started reading the works of feminists that I was like, oh, so this is what was going on, right? All those nights, my mom would stay up late and sit by my dad, so he would have his supper, but be complaining bitterly before he got there, and I did not understand, why are you sitting here and making this food and yet complaining? I understood, oh, okay, so society says this is her role, you know, and maybe she doesn't really want to do it, but she feels like she has to. So feminism helped me understand the way in which the world is structured. Right? Why sometimes people act in particular ways. And then it helped me see that I was a feminist because I did not like the boxes in which people were being put. Right? And so for me, feminism is really about getting rid of the boxes and trying to create a world where everybody is free. Right? And if you look at the people who suffer the most in any society, if they are free, then everybody will be free. Yeah. Yes. And I want to answer the question about, you know, am I late? You are not late. You will never be late. You will always be on time, because whatever idea you have is unique to you, right? And I like the question around, like, how do we ensure that the work that sometimes and the conversations that happens in academic spaces gets translated into communities? I'm not an academic at all, yet look at me here. You know, I think there's so many ways. The ways in which I do my work is I write nonfiction books, I produce podcasts, I produce festivals, you know, so you just have to find what works for you. And I think just that. Don't wait to have all of the knowledge, don't wait for it to be perfect, just start, because you will learn as you go along.
Yes, thank you, Nana. Koketso, last word?
Yeah, I think there's this idea that we've all arrived, or, you know, and we are learning by being exposed to people and in all kinds of different ways. I also do believe that I'm not an academic myself, right? But I think this thing about, for me at least, my foregrounding was my own experiences of collective action. So the community where I come from was facing an eviction. And one of the ways the municipality decided that they were going to evict us was the pump where we used to get our water. If you cut that off, they will accept being moved away because they won't have water, right? It was women who gathered there with their axes and chased those municipality workers away, right? And these are the types of things that I have seen or witnessed, right? When a crèche or center to feed kids was being built in our community, donations had been received, bricks and cement and all of that, right? You know how it is, nobody wants to do anything until you see someone else take action. It was the women who were there to lay the foundation, right? All the time, collective action, how can we make, and all of those actions were never, yes, a part of it is I'm impacted, this is my community too, but it was all about the self in relation to others, understanding that being relocated, you know, had such an impact on everybody. And so there was just something so liberating and freeing about that, right? To not always be concerned with self, but to understand that the self, to exist, to be, is only because of others, right? And so to keep your eyes squarely focused on liberation. Liberation not for the sake of I want a nice life, but how can we share? How can we collectively enjoy, have a life in which we're not just surviving, but we're thriving. The history of your birth has no bearing on who you will become, I'm such a believer in like a black childhood and protecting black childhood. Yeah, but these are the things we've never ever just we're always in a space of becoming. And the sooner we accept that, the bolder we become, the more possible it becomes for us to imagine and do, because we are not confined to, I can only be right, I need to be perfect. We will explore and trust that those we are in community with will hold us accountable and tell us when we are moving to the wrong side. That's important.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you so much. You've both been so generous with your knowledge, your wisdom, and your time. Thank you so much. And thank you in your talks for bringing back Prudence and PHYLLIS NTANTALA. Nana, just listening to Prudence's voice was just such a reminder that actually our lives continue, even when we may not be physically in the space. And you've brought us back to that. You want to say something? Yes. Okay.
Speaking of NTANTALA, one of the things, she was prolific and passionate about education, right? But one of the things I so deeply appreciate was that her idea of what a quality education is or could be was not about the self. It was not education for the sake that I am going to study and become this and that. It was for a collective benefit. She saw quality education as a pathway to a liberated way of being for all of us collectively. And that is such an important lesson about, again, collective and our desire for good things. And NTANTALA on education, she nails it.
Yeah, well, I wish many of our institutions could learn from that and offer quality education. So, to liberate the black child and black people. So on that note, thank you so much to both of you, and thank you all for engaging in this conversation, and we will continue to the next phase of the lecture. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Zethu. Thank you so much, Nana. And thank you so much, Koketso. Colleagues, we're moving to the last phase of the conversation. Unfortunately, we had to kind of cluster too many things at once. As part of answering that question by, I don't know if it's Aneleve, on how to translate this work, we had put together a creative writing and student competition, and also inviting independent artists to participate in this memorialization work, but also to introduce them to the kind of values, the life, and also the style of doing different things, whether you're an academic or not. So calling two people who will be presenting student winners for this year, I'm gonna start calling Simran Juglal. Simran, you can start coming. She's a researcher at the Center for Women and Gender Studies and Sachi Chair in African Feminist Imagination here at Nelson Mandela, a PhD candidate at University of the Western Cape. She is a ghostwriter and has written quite a number of books, ghostly, but she's good. And her interest is on colorism, racism, reproductive rights, genocide, African history, and American politics. She's also interested in culture, gender, and film studies. Simran will be presenting the first category. We had two categories. She'll explain what category was that. Thank you so much.
Okay. Testing. Great. There we go. Good evening, everyone. As part of this prestigious public lecture, we are honored to announce the winners of the competition. This competition is a salient aspect of the public lecture, as it encourages students, artists, and creatives in the Eastern Cape to interpret the 2024 theme of Black feminist works and to produce artworks, poetry, essays, digital performances, and reflective pieces that celebrate the intellectual and activist works of Black feminists. This competition is co-hosted by Nelson Mandela University and the University of Fort Hare, And the theme of Black feminist works draws inspiration from the life and work of Dr. PHYLLIS NTANTALA and PRUDENCE MABELE, who, despite living in different periods and working in different parts of the world, have greatly contributed to the liberation of women and many others. The competition has two categories. The first category is open to students registered at higher education institutions in the Eastern Cape, and the second category includes submissions from creatives, independent artists, and community members in the Eastern Cape. We received numerous brilliant and insightful submissions, making the review and selection process particularly challenging for us. We commend all of the students, independent artists, creatives, and community members who meaningfully engaged with the theme of Black feminist works in their submissions. In doing so, they exemplify the ways in which we can translate Black feminist work into practice. Without further ado, I call upon Princess Sibanda to announce the winners.
Dr. Princess Sibanda is a postdoctoral fellow under the Sachi Chair in Sexualities, Genders and Queer Studies at the University of Fort Hare. She is a scholar activist whose research interest lies in participatory performance and intersections with gender and sexualities in Africa. She has curated a number of theatrical interventions in Zimbabwe and South Africa to facilitate space for queer people to tell their stories from their own perspective. In 2018, she was awarded the Canon Collins Scholars Award, as well as a Community Engagement Award at UKZN, in recognition of her scholar activist work. The Queer African Studies Association also recognized her scholarship with an honorable mention for her contribution to queer African scholarship. Now, she will be presenting the winners for the two categories. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Gola, for mentioning that mischief has space in Black feminist works. This is why I'm not behind the podium for now, because we need to bring the mischief into practice. So I'm also going to disrupt the formality and the neatness because I'm a performer. And I'm going to start by inviting you to do a little exercise with me as I prepare you for the hand clapping and the joviality that's needed for the kind of work that I'm about to do. So I'll invite you to say, if it's a call and response exercise, I will say goo, you will say, let's try it. Goo. No. Let's be more resounding. Goo. That's better. So IPL is goo. IPL is goo. It puts us in a goo, moo, and we want foo. Thank you. Okay, back to the script. I want to emphasize that this competition is not just a by the way. It's quite dear to the visionaries of this project, Professors Pumla Kola, Babalwa Makokwana, and Zetu Matebeni. So this year the competition was quite stiff. We had very long deliberations, but the process was filled with care, rigor, and love. So because it was very stiff, we decided to give special mentions to pieces of work that we thought expanded the ways in which we engage the theme of Black feminisms in our context. For category 1, our special mention goes to two students, namely Zonanda Mase and Kanyiso Ngubane. Zonanda Mase is a master's in public administration student at Walter Sisulu University, and her entry articulates Black feminism in very compelling ways and keeps a sustained focus on PHYLLIS NTANTALA and PRUDENCE MABELE's works. Particularly, the adjudicators were impressed by her writing and engagement with Black feminisms, considering the discipline that she writes from. She's in public administration. Nkanyiso Ngubane is a third-year public relations student from Nelson Mandela University, and his submission was a recital titled Black Feminist Works in honor of Phyllis NTANTALA and Prudence Mabele. Prof. Magokwana thought the poem packaged in the form of a YouTube video was a beautiful surprise, unique and creatively engaging with the theme, especially as it emerges from the viewpoint of a black man. Kanyiso's embodiment and content is testament to the fact that black feminist praxis is not premised on rigid gendered embodiments. You would have seen his video as you entered the venue. Kanyiso, are you around so that you can just wave? Oh, they're not here. And then the winning entry for category 1 is a poem titled Mothers Who Kissed the Sun and Transformed. Through an interplay of words, the poem paints and takes us on a visual journey that reviews the nuances and complexities that punctuated the journeys of the two icons that we commemorate today, that is Phyllis NTANTALA and Prudence Mabele. We thought that the ways in which the entry renders in poetic form the triumphs, trials, tribulations, and transformations that characterize the lives of these two icons captures the core of black feminist praxis, that is giving a holistic appreciation of black women's lives. The winner for this category is Neo Mahula. For this entry, Neo wins a cash prize of 5,000 Rand. Yes, part of Black Feminist Works is to also empower others financially and economically. So Neo Mahula is currently pursuing a master's degree in sociology at Nelson Mandela University. Her research interests include decoloniality and pre-industrial sociology. In 2022, one of Neo's poems won the Nelson Mandela University Psychology Society's Queer Month Art Competition. Neo is joining us today virtually from the bosom of her ancestral lands, Lesotho.
Hello, everyone. I am so grateful and also deeply humbled by this win. I'm also thankful to the organizers of this lecture for coming up with the idea of this competition, because had they not done so, then I wouldn't have interacted with the works of woman Prudence and Dr. NTANTALA as intimately as I did, because in wanting to represent them authentically, I had to get to know them. So I had to deeply dive into their works. So I'm grateful that this competition came into being. Lastly, Nelson Mandela University did it. We did it because in 2022, when we hosted, none of the prizes remained at home. They all went to other institutions. And the program director that year said, well, Nelson Mandela University, you are such great hosts. You are so great that you are giving away all the prizes to other universities and taking none for yourselves. But don't worry about it. You'll get it next year. So I'm not sure which institution won last year. However, here we are back at home and one of the prizes is remaining. So congratulations, Nelson Mandela University, and to everybody who made this happen. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Congratulations, Neo and Nelson Mandela University. Moving on. Category 2, our special mention goes to Siv Grayson for their entry titled Gender Works. Siv's essay is a scintillating read that critiques the categorizations of blackness, womanness, and feminism that we are grappling with in this edition of the IPL, and they do so from a queer perspective. One of our adjudicators, Prof. Zethu Matebeni, thought the work is such an important contribution in that it troubles black feminism as we understand it and extends black feminist imagination beyond the female body, and in the same breath immortalizes Prudence Mabele's life work on queer rights, which are fundamental to the IPL. Siv is an independent art activist and academic living here in Gqeberha. There must be somewhere here. Siv, are you here? Oh. But a round of applause for Steve. And the winner for category 2 is Sama Spellman. As Zama walks up to the stage, I'm just going to give a brief bio. Zama is a Bachelor of Visual Arts Honours graduate and is currently pursuing a master's degree in Fine Arts at Nelson Mandela University. Her artwork should be showing somewhere. So the artwork is titled, "Don't You See Your Eyes Drown Me?" This piece of art is one that offers us a canvas of possibilities and interpretations that speak to the theme and beyond. One of the adjudicators, Prof. Bumlakola, found Zama's artwork to be a powerful image that plays around the idea of the paradoxical limiting ways in which Black women activists are memorialized and invisibilized in South African memory. And thematically, we found it resonating with NTANTALA's conceptualization of Black women's existence with all and in all its contradictions. Ladies and gentlemen, and those who straddle these boundaries, please, a round of applause for Zama. I will now take this opportunity to welcome to the stage Professor Maseko to hand over the checks and invite back Simran, my colleague, to do the handshaking. Thank you. Neo's check is with me. We'll organize that.
Do I speak? Yeah. Oh, hectic. Hi. I'm not the best at public speaking, but hi. My name is Zama. I'm a master's student. I'm in the visual arts department, and I'm so honored to be here. My Faculty of Humanities. My works are about Black women, our experiences and making those visible, with the history of being hyper-visible and not having control of our stories. I like to reclaim these experiences and these stories through my art. And I'm so honored that you specifically loved this work, because I was just reading What is Slavery to Me for my thesis. So I'm geeking at this point. I'm so honored, and I'm also glad to represent this university, this institution. I'm so proud. Thank you.
We didn't manipulate things. It was a robust, critical process. Seriously, it was rigorous. There were different perspectives. We took 3 full hours in trying to come up with 2 winners because the work was so good. So congratulations, Newo. Congratulations, Uzama. Thank you so much, Sibanda. Thank you so much, Simran. I'm now going to leave so that I can give over to the Deputy Dean of Humanities. I just want to say, as part of the work and the works that we continue to do here at Nelson Mandela, it's a privilege to be part of the beautiful feminists and the institution of this nature. Coming to Mandela in 2016, I did not know the amount of work that I needed to do, but it has been a joyful year. Work. I've enjoyed meeting young people and all sorts of different personalities. But what comes to mind is what Ukoketso was talking about in terms of the incomplete narratives that we ought to be feeling through these different types of conversations. And also the work of honoring ourselves, as Unana just said, and sankofaring. I like that analogy so much. But also, what is important is the work that is collective and the responsibility that comes with the work. It is not just about celebrations. It takes work to amplify the works. With those few words, I would like to invite Deputy Dean of the Faculty of Humanities here at Nelson Mandela, who's also a friend and a co-traveler with us, Dr. Jackie Lack, who was the head of Department of Applied Language Studies from 2017 to 2020, currently a senior lecturer in the Department of Linguistics and Applied Linguistics, her PhD from Rhodes University, focused on inclusion of students into disciplinary knowledge and how language constrains or enables this. Her teaching and research interests are language, knowledge, and curriculum, identity, discourse and ideology, decolonization of linguistics, and decolonization of the curriculum. She was part of the National Research Foundation project that looks at how knowledge includes or excludes students in higher education. She also works closely with the university's teaching and learning community in their quest to decolonize and Africanize curriculum and language policy. She is the chairperson of her faculty's teaching and learning committee. She strives to publish and present at conferences regularly. She has received awards for teaching and grants for teaching and learning innovations. These grants have assisted her in contributing to the rethinking of linguistics and digitization in the humanities. She is a teaching advancement at universities fellow, currently serving as an advisor on this national program. She is also a collaborating researcher with Northwest University, Essex, Michigan universities on a project around the nature of presence of African linguistics in classrooms globally. She is the executive committee of the South African Linguistics Applied Linguistics Society, as well as an associate editor of its journal. Jackie, you've been wonderful. You've been patient. We thank you.
I know where you find all those things that you are reading. Thank you so much. I thought I should just say thanks and then we go, but I can't because I just feel we should just sit and soak what has been said here. Yeah. So let me try. My dean started, so I'm going to end. So just good evening to everybody, acting VC, DVC, my dean, and distinguished guests, and to the families of the NTANTALA and MABELE families, friends of Nelson Mandela University, Fort Hare, and our phenomenal speakers, lecture participants, everybody. Just thank you for joining us tonight at this institutional joint public lecture in honor of Dr. PHYLLIS NTANTALA and PRUDENCE MABELE to explore the body of works that works and defines African feminist calls for justice. We are so proud. When I walked in here tonight, it was just such a beautiful feeling. I just can't describe it. It was just, I just felt beautiful. So on behalf of Nelson Mandela University, represented by the Center for Women and Gender Studies, our fabulous Prof. Pumla, the chair, the DSI, NRF Saatchi Chair in African Feminist Imaginations, the University of Fort Hare, represented by the Saatchi Chair in Sexualities, Gender and Queer Studies. Thank you so much. This was how to do a public lecture, if Ellen is here. And so, yes, we have to follow in your slip, what do they call it? Slipstream. So thanks to everybody involved in the lecture and the quest to illuminate women erased in history. As everybody has heard, this lecture has been a celebration. I know you say it's not only a celebration, it's also hard work of the intellectual projects of black women. And Prof. Maseko said it resonates very well with our institutional mission of being a university we are deeply concerned with Africa purpose, knowledge, and our faculty. Our faculty's goal and specific focus on women's gendered histories. So thank you very much. Phenomenal, Asanda. That was just beautiful, beautiful. She's going to end, so please don't go. She's still here for us, Asanda. Thank you also for leading us into the space with your warmth and just so lyrically. It was just so beautiful. My Dean, for your powerful framing of the lecture. We'll just forget all that other stuff. So, Dr. Connie Bitso, for your insights. Where's Dr. Connie? Into the meanings of this collaboration. Thank you for that. And Prof. Pumla, I don't know, I can only sit and soak. I try to take notes when she speaks, but after a while, I'm just like, oh, let me just sit and let these words just envelop me. And so thank you for that. Prof. Babalwa, I just feel so humbled when you, to call you my colleague and friend. So thank you so much for this amazing work that you continue to do. Prof. Zetu? Yes, I said to you, you must just come here. I mustn't say that, but thank you for the facilitation tonight. Dr. Princess Sibanda and Ms. Simran Juglal, for the winners announcement. Zama is just amazing. She is, I must say, Zama has been awarded a bursary for every year of her studies for her academic achievements every year. She's phenomenal. MDDA, so we'll be very proud of you. So we're very proud of the work that she's doing. So watch that space. And then, of course, our receptive audience, thank you very much. Congratulations to the winners. And then our speakers, Nana. Is Nana not a royalty? No. Hey?
But it's also just a prefix, so mine is just a prefix.
Okay, because we're in the presence of royalty. Nana and Koketso, for taking us forward with your insights. I think you both were different and beautiful in that difference. So thank you very much for your insights into the feminist work. At the end of the lecture like this, I don't know if you're like me, but we're left with so many feelings. I feel always sad it's come to an end, you know. So I still want to linger here and let the words stay with us. But we also feel a sense of renewed hope and pride and joy in these histories and our histories. A sense of reflection, curiosity to just, know more about the incomplete stories. So thank you for helping us bring Babs and Pumla and Zetu these incomplete stories, which is hidden from the light, into the light. And for inspiring us with every word and thought that shows the solid ground on which we stand, that we're not appendages, and we also want to just thank the feminist ancestors so that you have called into the space so beautifully, Nana, today. So I want to close with gratitude, and I want to call you up again, our speakers, Nana and Koketso. Wendy's got gifts. Okay. Prof Maseko, come hand over. Yeah, you're gonna come. Yeah, no, but you must come stand there. I can't stand without my team.
Thank you, colleagues. That was the closing. We have food outside. Thank you so much, Jackie. Asanda will continue to play while we are taking pictures with the different groups. DVC, RII, thank you for staying this long. Thank you so much, Professor Lloyd.
Looking out on the morning rain, I used to feel so uninspired. And when I knew I had to so unkind. You're the key to my peace of mind. Now you make me feel, 'cause you make me feel, you make me feel lovely as we say goodbye, lovely. And when my soul wasn't the lost and found, babe, you came along to claim it up. I didn't know just what was wrong with me, babe. To your kiss, it helped me name it up. No, I'm no longer doubtful of a world I'm living for. 'Cause if I make you happy, I don't need to do more. Now you make me feel, 'cause you make me feel, you make me feel like oh, baby, what you done to me, baby. You make me feel so inside. And I just wanna be with, so close to you, you make me feel so alive. You make me feel, you make me feel, you make me feel like, sing it again, say, again and 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 again. Again and again. Feel like let me say, again and 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 again. You make me feel like you make me feel like a natural woman. 'Cause you make me feel like a natural. 'Cause you make me feel like a natural. You make me feel like a, you make me feel like a natural. Like a natural woman.